Hi, it's me, Mia, Cree Singer, and today's video is in regards to what type of specialty, air quote, paranormal, psychological, parapsychological specialty I'm in. Um, I am getting my PhD in parapsychology, and unfortunately, there are a lot of different misconceptions, and so I would like to spend my time trying to sort them out and make sure that how humans are made is a bit more clear. So, for some, the supernatural is the supernatural, but for others, it's normal and natural. Certain types of abilities are actually capable within any human being. Telepathy, intuitiveness, sensitivity to other feelings and other perhaps beings, clairvoyance. I know that Christians will holler at me. So what I'm going to say is there are also God-given gifts and talents, and that is listed in 1 Corinthians 13, I believe. So if you are aiming for the truth and you are aiming for goodness and kindness and patience, and you seek good wisdom and knowledge in order to help others, um, it is likely that you are then led to a certain type of information. Uh, I am not necessarily myself one to be prying around looking for hidden knowledge. However, any knowledge that I'm ready for and can process is what I seek, and I seek the truth and the reality. So there are many, 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 many different kinds of thoughts about all of this, from different religions, from different perspectives, from atheists, from non-atheists, to, I mean, you name it, perspectives galore. I am very much concerned about some things having to do with modern psychology, because oftentimes when someone who claims that they're spiritual uh, would like to, see a therapist or talk some things out, they end up on heavy medication. And specifically for a diagnosis of schizophrenia, there is a likelihood that certain individuals are not aware that they are picking up telepathic communication. Some individuals may not be aware that they have the ability of telekinesis, or they can see through the veil. And so getting visions is highly frightening to some people. And a lot of modern doctors don't understand that, or they're in denial. So one of my, goals is to lift people up out of denial. And yes, denial is a river in Egypt. Um, Some of these people have been heavily medicated and they've been harmed in great many ways. They're not being treated by uh, Jungian psychologists. Carl Jung, by the way, was a mystic. So, surprise, I'm sure this is news to some. There are certain frequencies, there is a good and holy source, and then there are other sources. So, having proper protections in place, understanding what you're doing, this, that, and the other thing. I think that there are plenty of cases, individuals being put on antipsychotics who may have heightened abilities or had was influenced by someone who could see that they would have these abilities and try to have the individuals hone those abilities, and yet they weren't aware that that is what was happening. So, psychologists do actually have to admit, if you are not a spiritual person, and particularly if you're an atheist, you really do not have the proper qualifications to be handling patients who are spiritual. You just don't. So people do need to recognize that. And the modern psychological establishment does need to recognize that humans are extraordinarily, wonderfully well built. And the mechanisms for protection within themselves, there are mechanisms. Some of these mechanisms, I don't think that the paranormal investigators are really aware of. So, I'm going to step into the paranormal arena full bore. I'm going to be taking that approach. There are individuals who have suffered traumas that they did not address at one point. There are individuals who, through lack of sleep, drug use, family traits, influences that paranormal investigators don't see or know, will seek out paranormal investigators for reasons that don't really have anything to do with paranormal. So, I personally, can't work tons of cases, but the cases I would like to focus on are cases that involve little children with imaginary friends. Now, I do have Christ-like discernment, and I can sense I'm highly sensitive. I'm a high sensitive. And my intuition has been honed enough that I rarely miss the mark. So it could be a manifestation that the child is having, because if they are being abused by someone in the family or a neighbor or someone older than they are, you would say that the number one, from a psychological perspective, the number one go-to for a little kid would be an imaginary friend, because they're safe telling an imaginary friend. And if a child has been threatened not to tell anyone, they manifest their own imaginary friend. Now, in some cases, it can be that the abuser is stopped and the child is given healing and the imaginary friend goes away. So it could be a projection from that child. It could be a manifestation from that child, but a manifestation from two different angles. So it is tricky business. trying to work out what is what. If I sense a presence, I can sense an unseen presence in a very, in proximity of me pretty easily. Um, and sometimes I get communication, but I'm also an excellent reader of individuals. So sometimes it's an individual who is bothered by their own conscience. And so they are haunted by something internally, not externally. Those individuals are likely the type to scratch themselves, say that they saw an entity, disassociate, and so it can be difficult. And there are some people who have uh, high sensitivity to certain things who may sense a presence in a room. However, many times that presence is an actual physical being in that room. And sometimes, if you are not all cleared out and all cleaned out, and you are not able to discern properly, the there is an assumption made by paranormal individuals, and I would very much like to remind those individuals that, humans can have defense mechanisms that are just innate and naturally built in. And under a great amount of stress, out of fear, out of abuse, out of cognitive dissonance, any number of situations can be the case. And then there are people who will call, in paranormal investigators because, oh, they've already called the police and they've already been to, the hospital this many times. And, if they don't get constant attention, they have issues. So from that perspective, that's where I mean, trust me, I've seen activity. Absolutely. That just absolutely couldn't be. I mean, it was so ridiculously, blatantly not anything a scientific minded person like me, who's an empirical thinker, could ever, you know, possibly doubt. So, um, yeah, definitely. But also remember the phantom smells can also be an indicator of epilepsy or the epilepsy, So, in some ways, I think it's the inside and the outside uh, in conflict with each other in some way. And I think that there is likely external influence and an internal influence. And oftentimes those things do not mix well. And my biggest concern, considering my age, I'm almost 49. So, what I would like to investigate and consult on and be a part of. I mean, I am sensitive, so, and I do pick up conversation and I do read people really well. And sometimes I can sense things at a heightened, I don't know, at a heightened awareness, and also oftentimes can see through the veil. So, I mean, I can do those things, but my main goal is little children, protecting little children from themselves, from, human harm, I am also quite capable of performing exorcisms. So, push comes to shove, if I really think, oh no, I don't go calling the Catholic Church and asking for permission. Okay. I get tactical right then and there. Phone calls get made, people get brought in, it gets handled however long it takes. So I'm good to have around. But you know, my main concentration is little children with imaginary friends. It could be harmless, but most of the time it does indicate something. It may not indicate a ghost, it may not indicate a spirit. Sometimes it might be an angel, it might be a protective, but those can be tricky too. And so I bring a lot of different perspectives into one sort of sphere in helping a child and or family. So that's where I would like to concentrate. So anyone who does see this, one, it's something to consider if you're a paranormal investigator. And you're more than welcome to contact me. Singing from the crease at gmail.com, at Crease Singer, YouTube channel. I usually have my home address is 535 Booth Street, Elkton, Maryland, 21921. I specialize, that's where my specialty is, just children with uh, imaginary friends. So likely, even if they're not being haunted, the imaginary friend part could still be a cry for help. So it's important. It's important also if someone does feel what they think is demonic, whatever, even if you don't believe in that, the comfort of the human individual matters. So having people who are good at other people, I'm pretty good at calming people down. I'm pretty good at the moment, just, all right, stick with me. All right. So those kind of things I'm good at. Sometimes I get visions, past, present, future. It just depends. I mean, I'm still trying to work all this out. But for people who are paranormal investigators, I will become a member of the Paranexus Anomalous research. I forget what it's called, but I'm getting my degree in parapsychology, and I will be involved more and more. There are quite a few things. Some people will call it the Akashic record. Some people will call it the angelic record. There is a collective knowledge that is available. It should be monitored, however. Little children certainly don't really need to know what adults need to know, and so on and so forth. And there are individuals opening portals without being aware of it, or being aware of it and not properly closing it. Too much practicing, too much, I don't know, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, is happening. So I'm very much invested and interested at this point. People who are using Ouija boards, and that includes paranormal investigators. Every sense that I have indicates to me that you don't need to use them. And it is best that you do not. Okay, now I know tons of people, oh, well, and play around, and you're gonna play with flat fire and flirt with death, and oh, the demons can't hurt me. But it may not be the demons that are gonna get you. Okay, it might be the good guys. It might be God. It might be angels. It might be a protective guardian. You understand who's gonna get you. So, for paranormal investigators, I suggest do not use do not use spirit boards of any kind for communication. You quite literally don't need it. So it's best to turn away from that. Every sense that I have is indicating to me that in order to get information that you need, using a spirit board is the wrong way to do it. So please don't. There are other ways that are safer and more easily understood. Again, my name is Mia. I will be writing a book. My thesis, dissertation, and dissertation are going to be put together, and that will come in the form of a book, which likely will be out around 2003. So right now, anybody who sees this and has had any kind of a strange occurrence, synchronicity, you swear you heard your name, you thought you saw something, you thought you saw an angel, you thought a demon was bothering you, whatever, something moved in your house and there was nothing there and no wind and other, whatever it is, okay, I will not judge any of it, okay, I will simply take it in, and I'm interested in those stories. So by video, okay, by audio, you can type them out and you can send them to me on email at singingfromthecrease. That's CREASE.com. Or you can, send them snail mail, which still works. Okay. And it's, I, nobody's checking my mail, folks. Okay. It's just me checking my mail. So, however you can get them to me. And if you could, spread this around, because I would like to look at all of I don't care whether they're near death experiences. I don't care if you thought, cattle mutilation, strange things in the sky, strange sensations. Some people know the term thick. You felt thick. Um, just really odd, weird sensations that you could not yourself explain. I'm not judging, and I can't say one way or the other what that could be, but I would very much like to get anybody's stories, and make sure your information is available to me. I will probably be doing interviews. I might be asking questions, because I really do kind of want to suss out where does natural end and supernatural begin? Or is it a constantly changing pace as we learn and grow and mature, spiritually? I am concerned about children with imaginary friends for several different reasons. And so I am going to be becoming more and more familiar with the parapsychology, paranormal individuals, to let them know that if I need to, I can do a exorcism. Most likely that's not going to happen, but and I can sense some things. So, and I've done EVPs and other kind of things. So, but the little children, but I do come at it from a human psychology perspective to say, well, there is something wrong, but it isn't a haunting, it's something else. And also be someone who does have a spiritual gift and has no idea, right? And that's likely some of the causes of moving furniture or things disappearing and reappearing too. So um, I feel that I should be a part of it, and I should put my perspective in there, and particularly when it comes to little children. And I'm pretty protective, and so I can look at it from several different ways. Plus, if you're an investigator, a paranormal investigator, if there really is an abusive situation that is just kind of bad, they're likely to let paranormal investigators in their house instead of law enforcement or child psychologist or someone who might be onto it. So, but any stories, anybody who wants to contact me for any reason, you're more than welcome. I am busy, but I can make time for important things. So keep these things in mind, though. If you are not a paranormal investigator, don't. And never do it alone. Ever. Um, there are some biblical things also that match up to certain activities on earth that I think, some people who may not be in the Christ mind or may not accept God don't see, but I do. Clear as a bell. I mean, so clear, it's like looking through glass for me. So some of this activity is ramping up for a reason that was foretold. I'll put it to you that way. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening, and thank you for asking any of your friends, or any kind of anything, any kind of activity that you just couldn't explain, whatever it is. Okay, I'm not here to judge any of it. I'm here to look and discern. So anyway, may you all be blessed and safe from bad things. Peace and love to you. Thanks.